really this is the really heavy stuff. So it's not I mean, I actually think Fahrenheit 451 is an easier read than like Sherlock Holmes, for example, but the debate's hard. Okay, go on.
All right, so Hum 310 is Stories of Resilience. So if you take in the Intro 100 and 150 series, you probably are already very familiar with the personal narrative. In this class, we're diving into memoir. So we're looking at what can literature add to our understanding of its past, and how are you developing really deep creative nonfiction that is kind of thematically centered. So we're looking at elements of creative nonfiction. We're really deep diving into analyzing what point of view can do in the text and comparing impact across genres. So the core text will be Farewell to Manzanar. Secondary texts include things like poems from internment, this really beautiful memoir written by Mary Pike Lee called A Quiet Odyssey, and then some nonfiction historical texts about World War II, and my personal favorite, some excerpts from Michael Sandel's Justice, which is actually the book I wrote about in my Harvard College application essay.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh, wow. Yeah, I'll go on a rant about justice, like a good rant about justice. I'll do it in a minute.
Yeah. And for those of you who may not be familiar with Justice, it's a really good introductory book to philosophy. So we're looking at literature not only as a method of learning past, but also as a method of introducing kind of philosophical or political questions. So our assignments for this course will again be weekly vocabulary and short responses, but also an in-class literary analysis, an in-class original memoir, and the persuasive argument.
Awesome. And let's talk about this.
So as you might be able to see, once you get into the 300 series, the debates become a little bit more intense. So this debate, we're abstracting a little bit from a literary debate, and we're kind of digging more into the subtext and philosophy of the works that we're reading. So this debate in this course starts with the trolley problem. So one classic trolley problem you might have already heard of is a trolley is hurtling towards a group of 5 people tied to the tracks. You can stop the trolley, but in order to do so, you would have to push a very large man onto the tracks to block it. What do you do?
So I'm gonna just for a moment freak out over the trolley problem for a second, because this is just like my inner dork coming out. Michael Sandel's Justice class was the first class that I ever took at Harvard, and it took place. It's at Sanders Theater, so when you walk in, it's just this grand theater. And Sandel has literally done every single iteration of the trolley problem ever. So, for example, somebody would say, "No, I don't want to push the guy, but I would be willing to turn a wheel to turn the trolley away from the track." But then it's like, well, what if you had a wheel that opened a trap door that let the man sort of like fall onto the track, right? It's like all these different iterations of the question. Do you kill one person to save 2? What about 1 to save 100? At what point is it okay? So this is a question about ethics. And sorry if I just jumped in here and said what you were going to say. Say again. But
yeah. So we'll be looking at we'll be getting to do an introduction to utilitarianism, looking at kind of the structures of that political philosophy. And students will be using the text Farewell to Manzanar and thinking about what they've learned from that text and applying it to this philosophical question. So I'm very excited about this debate. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Awesome.